young kid from Wisconsin.
Yeah, so you were having a busy time. You were coaching some of the players. You were down on the floor signing autographs for fans. No rest for you.
No, that's okay, though. These guys keep me young, and there's no place I'd rather be.
So that's pretty much the closest lag we've seen all week. Marcel Eckhart had to get down and have a very close look before determining Shane Van Boening won the right to get us underway.
Yeah, and a dry break, something you don't see from SVB very often. And I'm not so sure the last time these two clashed, but I know the last time it was what you would call a big moment, like we're in right here. It was the World Pool Masters, Alexander Kazakis with a goose egg against SVB, a win at 9-0.
Yeah, they did meet in the World semi-final earlier in the year.
Yeah, that's correct.
SVB going on to win the title. Plenty of history between them, as we'll discuss, no doubt, in the course of the match.
Yeah, going offensive cross side here. Watch out, 4-ball. He's okay. That's a nice opener.
Yeah, a very confident start. And good chance. You got to get off to a good start against Shane Van Boening, whether you're a newcomer or an experienced figure like this man from Greece.
Yeah, and I've got to watch so many of the matches with these two paired off that it seems like for Alex, and maybe not against everyone, but against SVB, it seems like when he's had an early mistake or two, it really affected him the rest of the match. I know some of them have been short races in the Moscone, but the 2018 finale there, he had some shots he would certainly like to get back. Had a chance, I think, early in that match before SVB wasn't to be denied.
Yeah, I mean, both of his Moscone Cups, he's lost crucial final night singles matches against Van Boening. He's been on the losing team both times.
I decided to play for that little more of an angle, and that's mainly to get the proper angle on the 5 to swing around to play the 6 in the same corner. So not so much about getting on the 5-ball here, but getting proper on the 5 to get to the 6. Don't think Alex was too tested getting to this situation. We'll look at his match scores. Michael's got all of that. Of course, we saw SVB in a big test in his opening match against Joey Tate. But other than that, he kind of cruised on his next two.
Well, Kazakis was sent to the loser's side. He beat Ricardo Carcamo of the US comfortably enough, 6-2, but then Jesus Atencio of Venezuela beat him. And then he had a couple of comfortable wins on the loser's side where he needed to find 3 wins. 8-1 against John Moody, 8-2 against Jimin Lee. But then he had to play Mickey Kraus of Denmark in losers qualifying and only got through 9-7.
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, I was sweating that match a little bit. We were keeping track of the scores, talking about Mickey, and Mickey had the lead in that match now that I recall. Quite a bit of the duration of it, but nice opening now. Looks like he's going to try and kill the ball a little bit. A little low tip position, maybe not catching the second rail, maybe he does. He's going to maybe have an awkward stretch here. We'll see. He is a righty, but should be okay. Looks like he's going to go to the longer extension for this shot on the 8. Interested to see if he just kind of stun draws across. I don't think he'll go with top inside here, top left. I think he just will stay on the side of the table he's standing on now, just to try and get that little cut shot on the 9.
Just as well for him, there's no shot clock in operation yet.
Yeah, he is going with top inside, so may end up on the rail. All right, got nice energy into the cue ball. And a really nice opening rack for Kazakis off of a dry break, which you're not going to have much of from SVB.
Well, that's it. He's not going to give you much of anything, is he? But he gave Kazakis the opportunity right at the start. Kazakis opened up with a very nice bank shot. Did the rest from there. 1-0. Now Mario He is through, having just closed it out at 9-4 against Chris Reinhold. And Mario He will now play Mustafa Alnar in the next round after Alnar from Turkey beat Moritz Neuhausen by 9 racks to 6. And Reinhold was still in with a chance going into that match of claiming one of those automatic spots on the US Mosconi Cup team, but that is now gone. So I make it, in addition to Shane Van Boening, who's already in, 4 players battling for 2 spots now. Oscar Dominguez and Skylar Woodward currently occupying the 2 spots which will be decided this week, but Greg Hogue and Tyler Steyer still with a chance to catch them.
Yeah, and Greg Hogue up 6-3 right now on Omar Al-Shaheen.
Yeah, Eklund Kachi leading Johan Chua 6-4. Radislav Babika ahead of Oscar Dominguez at 5-4. And Mark Beisterbosch 6-3 up on Low Ho Sum. We'll get some other scores after the next rack, but back to the action here.
And I'll tell you, I've seen a lot more dry breaks today. Not saying there hasn't been plenty in the tournament, and that's a big part of the change, but I think I've seen more today collectively, of course walking around watching all the matches, than I recall seeing in the other days. Tension's high, it can affect all the shots.
Shane Van Boening, just in case you don't know, is chasing history here again this week. 5-time US Open winner. Shares the record with Earl Strickland. And looking for one more to become the first 6-time champion in the event's history.
Yeah, and we talk about so many greats in today's game and younger guys, Fillers, Federer, and all that. Jason Shaw, of course, a little older than those guys, but it'll be a while before another name is really put into that mix with Earl and SVB. 5 titles, if it ever happens, to be honest with you.
Do you feel now, when we come to an event like this, there are a lot more players who arrive as potential winners than there were back in Strickland's time?
Yeah, I'd have to say so. There's just that many great players, and you know, all these guys, you know, I don't know what the number you would put on it, but once they get going, right, once they put that confidence in there, there's a lot more guys that can win this event than you think.
And not just that, aside from the guys who can win it, there are probably a lot more players who can knock out one of the big names. Even if they don't have it in them to go the full distance, they can still have a big impact on who does win it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, you know, most of those players I was talking about, a half a level below the top guys, a level, whatever you want to call it, they, you know, they make breakthroughs in big events. It's usually not in the U.S. Open type of event, but who's to say, you know, that won't be the case this week? There's a lot of young Euros that are fighting for a big victory. Okay, we'll see if he goes at this. It is a shootable shot. I mean, he is elevated, but he has a pretty nice safety coming off the left side of the 1 going up behind the 3. The thing is, he's really got to commit to position. Needs a little bump on the 2, and he's going to get it. And you'd say that's lucky, but really he played it percentage-wise to never really get in trouble. Okay, if I get position, that's great, but I'm not going to get snookered the way I played this tough 1 ball, and that's a smart player. Going little southpaw here. Doesn't have to do much. Just get a foot past the 9 or so. He came down quite a bit more, so that's going to improve things.
There's a joke in the world of journalism. Could you interview Neil Armstrong without mentioning the moon landings? And obviously you couldn't. And equally so, we were saying before this match, can you commentate on this without saying the words 9-0? Well, obviously, equally so, you can't, because of that World Masters final you alluded to last year. It meant so much to Kazakis to get that win. He'd seen off Justin Sajic, Skylar Woodward, Eklund Kachi, and a hill finish in the semis. And to beat Shane Van Boening 9-0. Who on earth would have seen that coming? And the previous staging of the World Masters had ended in such disappointment for Kazakis. Famously 5-0 up against David Al-Qaedi. Ended up losing 9-8 with Al-Qaedi making that now legendary full table bank shot on the winning 9-ball.
Yeah, and the thing about that 9-0 is, of course, his opponent, SVB, trying to win the match and not giving up anything. But as you mount those games on your side, you kind of recognize that goose egg you're putting up on your opponent, and pressure mounts on that regard as well. Not easy to whitewash somebody. Okay, a little choice here. You can come 2 rails. I personally like kind of coming straight down the table myself. Don't really see the added bonus or anything better about coming with 2 rails for the 7 in the lower left. I kind of like coming down straight for the 7 in the lower right. Again, a little preference. The thing about it, if you come 2 rails with inside, you could land on the rail straight on the 7. Coming 1 rail down the table, that's a little more difficult to do. Oh, that hit a little thick. That may need to travel, and it's just going to clear enough.
Hard enough to beat Shane Van Boening from in front. So much harder to try and come from behind against him. And you can't let him disappear out of sight, which he will given half a chance. So as we've said, start's so important against him. And just as I was starting to write the last rights for this rack, he's left himself a bit more work than he would have liked here.
Yeah, a lot of players would have just came a soft 2 rails up the left side of the table there rather than crossing the position line or possibly crossing the position line. So a huge little bit of a tester here in rack 2 for Kazakis. Looks like he's drawing the ball. No, he's following.
Yeah, as I said, left himself a harder 9 than he would have hoped, but still would have been a surprise if he'd missed that. So Alex Kazakis, long way to go. Can't do any better than this for now. That's 2-0. Now Eklund Kachi, well, his Mosconi Cup place is under real pressure this year. But he's doing all he can at the moment. 7-4 up now against Johan Chua. And that will be a really good win from him. Chua's been playing very well here this week. Radislav Babica now 5-4 in front of Oscar Dominguez, who's leading the race at the moment for the remaining automatic spots on the American team. Ralph Suke, who's been on more European teams than anyone in history, is 3-2 down against Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. Wu Kunlin has a 4-1 lead over Roberto Gomez. Victor Zielinski 3-2 ahead of John Mora. Greg Hogue, still with Mosconi Dreams, 7-4 lead over Omar Al-Shaheen. Mark Beisterbosch 6-4 in front of Lo Ho Sum, who's had such a memorable year. And Thomas Kaplan with a 4-1 lead over Marcel Price.
Yeah, I was watching the Oscar Dominguez match. He just started off a little slow, a couple little mistakes, but now has caught Babica at 5 apiece, so maybe Oscar turning the corner in that match. Well, it looks a little dry at the moment as the 6 going to get a kiss, so we're going to get our first offensive look with one heck of a mess on that left side rail. The good thing for Shane as the 3's near, so maybe if he needs to get some short side position on the 4 later, he may be able to produce a chance at that. But nothing easy even here on the 1. A little difficult queuing over the 2. Definitely going to have to earn this rack one way or another, whether that be an incredible run out from the layout I see, or tactically some type of safety later on in the rack. I'd keep it simple here again with so much congestion. I don't try to do too much here. He's trying to just pinch it back, it looks like. Okay, now we're going to have to make a decision. Is he going to come back for the bank on the 4? Probably so. That'll carry him into the 7 to try and take care of a couple problems. That's what he's sizing up now. Yeah, I don't know if he wants to bank at it from there. The cue ball's going to have a ton of speed. I think he probably plays the safety here, just chipping the 4 underneath the 5-7, coasting the cue ball over to the rail. So, of course, just one kick shot here to the top cushion. Probably at a very light speed. He's got a lot of ways he can hit this and come clean. He can catch the second rail right before the 4. Kind of cut the 4 back into the 7, let the cue ball just bleed over the top of the 7. Just a light kick, period. That's definitely what you'll see from Alex. Just a matter of if, you know, how fortunate things come away. The good thing is with the light kick, is he going to get any hit? That's the hit I was talking about. And that's why the guys want to stay aggressive, Michael, is because they know how great that player behind him is.
Yeah, it's fine, yeah.
Once Van Boening got to single elimination at the World Championship earlier in the year, it was one close run thing after another. He had to win 5 matches from there to get to the final. And they were all 11-8, 11-9, or in the case of his match against Mika Immonen, 11-10, until he got to the clash with Alexander Kazakis. It was actually his easiest match through that single elimination stage on the route to the final, but it was still 11-7. Kazakis showed great determination all the way through.
Yeah, this is difficult, though. The 9's got him cut off the natural path to kick at the 4. He can kick a little right of the 9 to the top rail with a hair left spin. Should hit the ball going that route. He's trying to see, is there something better? You know, the one thing that Shane has on his side here is the 8-ball. So you can kick at a light speed. Even if the 4 opens up a little bit, the 8 should block the pocket. Maybe kind of forcing Alex to shoot a combination if you know, he wants to go offensive. Don't really see the big plus going this route. Now, if he can get in behind the 4 enough, get it to the top rail, maybe the 7 slows the cue ball down. You can get a snooker that way, but you could certainly foul. Look, he's taking an intentional. Wow. This could not get much better for Shane here. Yeah, I don't. He's going to be on a foul. Now, Kazakis is sizing some things up, and I'm not sure what route he's going to go. Is he just going to roll the 5 on top of these balls? Now we're going to have a jammed up situation where neither player can get at the 4, but they're on a foul situation. Now, Shane's trying to think he can get at the 4, but he can't. And that's why I didn't understand why he didn't kick at the ball to begin with. He's going to have to open some balls up.
And the reason you refer to the foul situation is the 3 strikes and out.
That's right. So he's going to move these 2. That's going to help him. He is on 2 fouls, though. So if you're Kazakis, which way do you want to get the snooker? Most players would try to cut the 4 a little bit and bring the cue ball 2 rails underneath the 8. Doesn't want to open the 4 and 8. Doesn't want to leave a gap for like a jump shot of some sort. And Shane, if he gets this ball all the way over to the rail, Shane's going to have a difficult kick that requires a ton of spin. I was very surprised he pushed the 8 on top of that 4 there, that being Shane. That's going to leave him a natural shot at the 4, and he's on 2 fouls. Of course, he's been warned. But here, you're almost better off to move the 4 out in a little space going to the end rail. I wouldn't try to get the snooker here, I don't think. Now, he may cross the 4 with a little draw, trying to go to the top rail and back behind the purple 5. But I don't know. I think I may just come across this a little thick, get it out in some space, and make Kazakis come with a shot from the end rail. I think if you go for the snooker, you got a better chance to leave him an easy shot. Now, of course, Shane won't threaten any pocket with the cue ball. No reason to do that. Now, the one thing Shane doesn't, he doesn't want to leave him the tester. Is he going to slow draw behind the 6? This is dangerous. Now you look around, so many veterans that have never won this title that are still in it. So many stories. Neil's fan, I see him over there practicing, has pretty much everything on his resume except for the U.S. Open. All right, he's trying to pinch draw this a little bit, maybe up by the 6, so be careful for the scratch in the upper right. Yeah, that would have, oh wow. You think this guy ain't got some nerve, Michael? Look at this shot. Wow, good effort.
Yeah. There's the round of applause anyway. Certainly seeing the other side of the game here. Just 2 great competitors. Kazakis just leaves every last drop of energy out there on the table every time. And, well, we know all about Van Boening and his will to win.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that goes without saying for most of these champions, but one thing that Alex is so impressed to me, you know, I met him when he was really trying to come up the ranks, and I would have put him at maybe top 100 in the world at that time, maybe 150-ish. You know, there was right here at the U.S. Open when it was in Virginia that I met him, and that maximum effort that he always gives is what's gotten him here in the position he's in the world ranks, and stays highly ranked. Hard worker.
Sorry, Jeremy, I was just going to say, I think he's always been aware of the fact that there wasn't a huge expectation on him, and he felt he was a better player than people reckoned he was, and he's used that to fuel his career. The sort of guy who loves to prove people wrong.
Yeah, and he's super nice guy. On top of that, great for the sport. But I used to watch him. Even he'd get knocked out of the event pretty early-ish, and he'd be at the pool room practicing like he was in the finals. You know, it's just, and not just, you know, hitting balls. Really committed. Big shot here to keep SVB in his chair.
Well, I wouldn't say it'll be a decisive turning point in the match, but it could be an interesting one. That goes in. He's got a chance for 3-0.
Well, one thing is you don't expect Shane to keep dry breaking, even though he did have that problem at the European Open a bit. It was almost alarming to him how he was missing the one on the side a lot. Here I haven't really seen the problem for that, except for this opening rack, of course.
Agonising for Kazakis. He was so close to having the chance. Open a 3-0 lead.
Oh, that's got to slow down. This is going to get a little 50-ish. Shouldn't be a problem.
Wow. It really could be a big moment, this.
Yeah. Sometimes Shane uses a little lower tip position than others on shots like that, and sometimes that'll make the cue ball, object ball, kind of drag with the cue ball a bit. Wow. Nothing against Kazakis, of course, but that swing looked off kind of from the start. Much more difficult shot that Shane had, but didn't really threaten the pocket much at all.
Yeah, he was further off target than Van Boening had been. Well, it's very early. This has taken on the feel of being a very significant rack. They're both feeling it very early in the match.
Yeah, and it's something about, you know, people say you don't want to play first round, but tension builds in this room. Even for the players preparing for their next round, they see some big moments. You know, it's not saying that you're going to wonder what you're going to do in those big moments, but
well, that rack felt much more like something you might see if it was about 7-all instead of only the third rack of a race to 9. I've said Shane Van Boening won't give you much. He gave Kazakis more chances than he would have dared to dream of there. Kazakis has eventually taken one, so it is 3-0. Greg Hogue is fast becoming one of the stories of this US Open, and he's on the hill at 8-5 against Omar Al Shaheen. If he gets through, he's going to play Mark Bijsterbosch, because the man from the Netherlands has beaten Lo Ho Sum, who's had such a memorable year, by 9 racks to 4. Eklund Kachi 7-5 up on Johan Chua. Closest match going on at the moment is between Oscar Dominguez and Radislav Babica. That's 5-all. Ralph Suke, after all these years, still battling well against a contemporary star, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. The Spanish World Cup winner is in front, but only by 1 at 4-3. Wu Kunlin 4-2 up on Roberto Gomez. Victor Zielinski is pulling away from John Mora at 5-2, and it's also 5-2 in favour of Thomas Kaplan against Marcel Price. Back to table one. Big story going on here.
Yeah, and I got the update. I think Greg Hoga's won that match. At
Yeah.
9-5.
Yeah, just while I was talking there, he won that 14th rack, so he will play Mark Beisterbosch. And he's still in the mix to claim a place on your team, Jeremy. Not the most familiar of American names. Tell us about him.
Yeah, I've actually known Greg since he was about 16, I guess, when I met him in Oklahoma City. Excuse me, Tulsa. Yeah, he was a really good player, like a lot of those guys, those kids from the Midwest at a young age. Used to call him Spanky when he was younger, and just, you know, took a little break from the game, you'd say, but been back in it now for several years, and really talented player like a lot of those kids, like I talked about from the Midwest, but just a tough grinder. He's going to just take what you can, you know, what you give him and try and work with it the best he can. He's been putting together some nice wins, though.
Still got a long way to go to make the Mosconi team, but it would be quite a story if he did.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's that far behind, to be honest with you.
Oh, I mean, it's so tight. It's
Yeah.
so tight now. But he's still going to have to get through a bit further because obviously Dominguez and Woodward have got points this week. Could add to those tallies.
Yeah, and they were a little ahead of Greg to start with. Now he's going to need a little travel on this 2-ball. Doesn't want to leave the return kick shot here. I don't think he's left him to cut. It's close.
We are going to be talking about the Mosconi a lot today because it's on everyone's minds getting into that team. Kazakis is still in the mix to claim an automatic spot on the European team, but he would have to win the tournament.
Yeah, nice snooker here, it looks like, from Shane, and I'm sure there are many at home doing the math and keeping up with what's going on. Things will definitely unfold, not only today at some time, you would figure, but definitely over the next 2 days.
If there's one player who's got unfinished business with the Mosconi Cup, it is Alexander Kazakis after the disappointments he's had in the past, both on a personal level and as part of the European team.
Yeah, this is about the most difficult one-rail kick you'll have on the slick table, or really any of the pool tables. When you're close to the rail, a little judging how it's coming off, easy to hit it long. Just like that. Oh, wow, great hit. And very nervy the way he shot it, but that was correct. Well, Shane's just gotta kick this one in. This is the type of shot, the way it lays, the 6 is a little in the way of the natural path, so you may see him add some speed here instead of rolling this ball. If he rolls it, he could go long. Yeah, you got to know that, though. Not a good sign there.
You starting to think another 9-0? Could it happen again?
Oh, he doesn't want to let SVB get going no matter what the score is, so. The thing about Shane, of course, everyone in this game, you have to stay mentally strong when things aren't going your way, because normally you'll open up with a big opportunity to get back in the match. Of course, we'll see how that goes, but it's just not going to be that, you know, where you hear from players, I never really had a chance, you know, because of the break and everything else. These days, normally you're going to get a chance. It may be 4-0, it may be 5-1, but you have to remain headstrong. right, he's just going to stun up for a little 2-rail angle to go short side on the 4. And he's going to play off the 3 here. Should get up around the head string on the left side rail. Shooting the 3 in the lower left. Maybe just a flick of left English here. We got a lot out of that. And for Kazakis, I mean, don't get me wrong, he can come with it, but really once he gets that starter down and gets in position, that's really where he excels, keeping control, maintaining a good cue ball, good decisions. Probably the starter itself is what really only separates him from the next level of players that are just above him. That looked a little thick, but it's going to slide in.
Early in the year, he just kept losing to Van Boening over and over again. We've talked about that World semi-final. At the same venue, only a few weeks before that, they'd both been involved in the Premier League pool in Milton Keynes. And that was a format where players played each other 3 times in some cases. In fact, in some cases, it was even 4. They had 3 meetings. Van Boening won them all. And of course, he had also beaten Kazakis in the quarterfinals of the World Championship back in 2016. So a sense of deja vu about that World semi-final defeat earlier in the year for Kazakis. Second time he'd been that far in the World Championship. In fact, he was just a rack away from the final in 2018 before bowing out to the eventual champion there, Joshua Filler.
Okay, a little in between here. Could draw back, could kind of stun forward for the 9 in the side. I think he draws above the 9 here. I did hold for the side.
Shane Van Boening is being asked some very serious questions here, and he isn't coming up with the answers at the moment. Alexander Kazakis is giving everything as ever, and it's all going very nicely for him. He leads the world champion 4-0. Right, let's look at some other scores. Eklund Kachi in a real battle with Yoan Chua, who's only one behind now at 7-6. Oscar Dominguez 6-5 in front in another really close one against Radoslav Babica. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz has just won the 8th rack to lead Ralph Souquet 5-3. Wu Kunlin is 5-2 up on Roberto Gomez. Viktor Zielinski of Poland enhancing his reputation all the time. You could say the same about his opponent John Mora, but it's Zielinski who's leading 5-3 at the moment. And it's also 5-3 in favour of another Polish player, Thomas Kaplan, against the Welshman Marcel Price. We are now getting into the action in the last 32. Wojciech Szewczyk, who knocked out Albin Ocean earlier, is getting started against Roland Garcia. Also Janiuski and Abdullah Al-Yusuf, and Mustafa Alnar versus Mario He. They're all in the first rack at the moment. 4-0 to Kazakis.
Oh, this is the thing, you know, you don't expect a dry break to continue from Kazakis. We did have one of those. Do expect shots to come clean. That's why any mistakes early can really, you know, they can really start to add up and look like, you know, costing you much more than just one game. Now Shane on this table, well, I believe it was on this table anyways, he was down heavily in his first match against Joey Tate. So he's been here already this week. Just a matter, though, is Kazakis going to surrender to the table for Shane to get going?
Saw this in the match we did earlier, Jeremy, between Jason Shaw and Lee Van Corteza. Shaw never really settled early on. Corteza got a bit of a lead. Shaw was obviously hoping he could turn it round, but never really got a chance to because Cortezo just kept shutting him out. And it's exactly what Kazakis will have in mind. I think when we talk about the two biggest individual titles in the game, it's this and the World Championship without question. Now, you want to be in the category of players who has won one of those. Alex Kazakis is not in that category at the moment. But of all the players who've never won either of those, it would be hard to think of anyone at the moment who'd be better placed to make that breakthrough.
Yeah, well, he's a hard worker. He's been near, you know, those titles before. So, you know, once he gets comfortable, his demeanor, I think, really adds up, you know, to making that big win. But, you know, there's a bunch of guys in this room that don't have either one of those titles also that have played some incredible pool this week. It's just a matter of taking advantage of the opportunities you get. Of course, the break and all that matters, so you have to be doing the right things. But I think for sure Kazakis is a guy that can get going and just kind of, what I tell the guys is, you know, just kind of play the game by yourself and see what happens.
When it comes to these big field Matchroom events, with at the new European and UK Opens this year and the World Championship now this as well, the previous three have all been won by players who had won events of that stature before. And this is the last chance in 2022 for someone to join that club, someone who's won a big field event of this level of prestige and profile.
He's a little concerned here. You know, in your first look sometimes can concern you. You'd rather have gone forward by the left side of the 9. Now he's either got to draw to the side rail or kind of stun 2 rails to the right, our right side of the 9. I like the draw more to the side of rail. He's going to stun a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. He's pretty much in control.
Yep, 2 balls down on the break. For the first time in the match, we have someone running out from the break. Alex Kazakis, as we've said, has beaten Shane Van Boening 9-0 in a big match before, only about a year and a half ago. He's more than halfway to doing it again. It's 5-0. Complete contrast to events over on table 2 between Eklund Kachi and Johan Chua. That one is 7-all at the moment. Oscar Dominguez, 1 ahead of Radislav Babika at 6-5. As we look in on table 2, Eklund Kachi, runner-up to Jason Shaw 5 years ago. If he loses this match, he'll be relying on a captain's pick to keep his Mosconi Cup place. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz has a 5-3 lead over Ralph Souquet. Wu Kunlin is 6-2 up on Roberto Gomez. Victor Jelinski has won the 9th rack to go 6-3 in front of John Mora. And Thomas Kaplan is leading Marcel Price 6-3. One match in this round hasn't started yet. That's Chang Young Lin, former finalist, against Skylar Woodward. And no scores to report yet from the matches which are underway in the last 32. Big score to report here, 5-0.
Well, the cue ball got a nice kiss there. It was heading towards the corner, but, you know, the 2 got a little jammed up. I think it may go by the 8. Nevertheless, it's now or never for SVB. He's got to get something going.
As you said, he was well behind against Joey Tate. Did manage to turn it round in extraordinary circumstances. Assisted to a large extent by Tate. Incredibly potting the wrong ball. 5 instead of the 4 at a key juncture.
Yeah, it looks like the 2 does pass the 5. Excuse me. So position here is key, and we couldn't have got much better on that. Really opens the rack up now, and SVB, of course, got to keep that concentration. Probably nobody better. And then, of course, get out here and put some racks together. At least make balls on the break to try and get control of the table in some fashion.
When you're trying to turn around a big deficit, you've got to hope that your strengths come to the fore. And although, as you alluded to earlier, He's not always been firing with the break this year. When it has been all clicking for him from the break in 2022, it's been a huge weapon for him to have. That's what he needs now.
He got a little funny here. I think he can pinch, kind of hold it for the 5 in the upper left. Looks like that to me. Today's equipment really, you know, offers that shot in a little easier manner than, you know, yesteryear's equipment. But now this is a little funny. Is he got to go into the 8 with the cue ball, or is he going to go by the 8? Got to make a clear-cut decision one way or the other. Yeah. But I mean, you look at a lot of players in this event that really do have the skills to win this event. You know, sometimes it gets between the ears, and the headstrong guys are the ones that you look at because they're all talented. But I mean, just look at a guy like Boening, for instance. Definitely has the skills, has the experience. Maybe not all the finals in the world that he'd like to have been in, but you know, every player in the building knows how great a player he is. It's just a matter of getting a few shots, doing it at the right time, and then again, you got to do it over and over these last few days.
And there's no way he hasn't picked the brains of his World Cup partner, Niels Feijen, who's such a good advisor to have when it comes to knowing how to get the job done in big events and make that step up.
And he's still very, very young, right in the heart of his career. Has another great 10 or 15 years left, and just no reason why he can't win it. And I think there's another 10 or 12 like that.
Well, it isn't going to be 9-0 this time. The dry break from Alex Kazakis gave Shane Van Boening the chance he was waiting for to start turning it round. He's still got a lot more recovery work to do. It's now 5-1. Oscar Dominguez, every rack counting so much in his match against Radoslav Babica. He's just won the 12th to go 2 clear at 7-5. He needs 2 more to go through to the last 32. 7-all between Eklund Kachi and Johan Chua. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz has a 6-3 lead over Ralph Souquet. Wu Kun Lin 6-2 against Roberto Gomez. Victor Zielinski, the ever-improving Pole, 6-4 in front of John Mora. And Thomas Kaplan has a 6-3 lead over Marcel Price. And Yanni Uski, someone you've been talking about a lot today, Jeremy. He's won the first rack of his match in the last 32 against Abdullah Al-Yusuf. Shane Van Boening's just won his first rack in this match. Took him a while, though.
Yeah, he won't lay off here either. Gonna smash him. 2 balls coming around. Is he gonna open up and get a pocket, or is the 7 in the way? Now, Shane won't back up on this cross corner, most likely, unless he sees a safety he really likes. But it's hard for these guys to play safe when they can cue the ball and the bank's kind of sitting right in front of them like this. And trailing 5-1, it kind of all adds up to knock this ball in.
Yeah, we mentioned the match against Joey Tate. 9-7 he got through. 9-5 against Margaret Fefilova. He played really well, didn't do much wrong. And then Van Boening played her husband Tyler Starr the next day and beat him 9-2. Today, he's fighting a rearguard action, and that'll help him along the way.
Watch him kind of force the 2 in here. Caught a little bit of the knuckles, you might say. Now, this is a tricky little shot after you make a big shot. I know it's easy, but just don't take your eye off of it going to the rail with the cue ball. Okay, he should be good here. And this is what he needs. Not only to cut the lead down, he needs to put some racks, but he's got to remind Alexander Kazakis, hey, I'm here in this match. See how he elects. Is he going to come all the way over to the side rail here to get a nice running angle on the 7 to come 2 rails? Looks a little heavy. This has gotten awkward. I think he overhit his mark there, Michael. I think he wanted to lay on the rail to just run the cue ball 2 rails off the 7. Now he's got to draw this, and I think he's got to kind of cheat the pocket a little on the 7. That way he draws right over where his hand's at now. That'll do.
So it's going to be his first break and run. Shane Van Boening continues this emerging recovery. It's now 5-2. Wu Kunlin closing in on victory over Roberto Gomez, 7-2 now. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, 6-3 up on Ralph Souquet. Victor Zielinski leading John Morris, 6-4. Thomas Kaplan, 6-4 on Marcel Price. The other matches in this round, as you were, Kachi and Chua, 7-all. Oscar Dominguez leading Radislav Babika, 7-5. And in the next round, the last 32, Mustafa Alnar has won the opener against Mario He, and Roland Garcia has taken the first rack of his match against Wojciech Szewczyk. Already told you that Janiuski is 1-0 up on Abdullah Al-Yusuf.
And I'll tell you, Michael, I knew we were missing a player that I expected to see here just because I love watching him play, and I usually learn something from the kid, is Oliver Zolnocki. He didn't make the U.S. Open. Of course, there's always some travel problems, visas, different things, who knows, but hard luck not having the youngster here.
Yeah, well, he was someone who, going into the week, still had a chance of making the Mosconi Cup team automatically, but obviously not to be.
Well, Shane has, at least for now, remedied that dry break in our opener, and now has a great chance. I believe the 3 does pass the 4. He's got a proper angle on the 2 to get to that 3, and really should cut that deficit down even more.
Six years since he won that 5th US Open to equal the record, but because of the event being moved to a different part of the calendar one year, and also the year we lost to COVID, he's only actually had 3 attempts to get that tie-breaking 6th. He's not really been that close. Last 16 last year, beaten by Lucius Yap. Last 16 the year before, going down to Wu Cha-Ching, or rather the staging before that in Las Vegas in 2019. Both of those players went on to reach the final. And it was a different format in 2017 when he had his first crack at the 6th title, but he had a 9th place finish, which amounts to the same thing effectively. Lost to Joshua Filler. So he's not really been that close. It's not like he's been on the brink of completing the elusive half dozen.
Yeah, well, the last 2 times he took a shot at it, he was in great form, though. It took a exceptional match by both those guys to knock him out, and then again, like you said, both those guys got to the final those respective years.
Well, how quickly this has turned around. The dry break from Kazakis in rack 6 was a big moment. Van Boening made it count. It's back-to-back break and run since then. 5-3 has a really, really different look to it than 5-0. Looks like the 15th rack has been going on a long time between Eklund Kachi and Johan Chua. Still 7-all there. And Oscar Dominguez, still no advance on 7-5 for him against Radislav Babika. John Morra is close to 6-5 down against Victor Zielinski. Marcel Price is hanging on well. The Welshman trails Thomas Kaplan 6-4. And in the next round, the last 32, Wojciech Szewczyk knocked out Alban Ocean earlier, but 2-0 down now to Roland Garcia. And no change in the other 2 matches underway in that round.
And talk about a dangerous guy, especially because he trailed early in his last match, and he had a heck of an opponent. So you know he had to get in form to win it, is Chris Melling. Chris Melling is a dangerous player in this event, especially if he gets really solid between the ears, you know, like really confident, right? So no, there's There's that dry break. It's amazing how it just happens from nowhere. It seems these guys are getting shots off of these dry breaks. So now Kazakis to try and return the favor.
Yeah, just going back to Melling, you never know what form he's going to be in turning up, because he does play a lot of 8-ball, so you don't know how much 9-ball he's had in the lead up to an event in terms of practice and preparation and everything. But the sign's good so far. He plays Badr Al-Awadi in the next round.
Yeah, a player from Kuwait that cannot be overlooked. Super solid fundamentals. Really good stroke. And a fighter batter, that's for sure. He's been in a lot of big spots. He must be a little bit snookered here, or maybe just sizing up position on the two. Not the type of shot you would want to roll unless you have to, but that looks like probably the best choice. Unless he's snookered here. Is he having to roll out? It's kind of what he's looking at.
About his 9-0 win over Shane van Boening to win the World Masters last year. It was the start of a whitewash relay, really, because when he went back to defend the title this year, albeit at a different venue, he lost his first match 7-0 to Dennis Orcolio, who in turn lost 7-0 to the eventual winner Joshua Filler. It's not been a great year for him in the Matchroom events outside of the World Championship. Didn't make single elimination at the UK Open. Went out early at the European Open last 32, beaten by John Morra, and with Greece went out in the second round of the World Cup, although they were just a rack away from overcoming the challenge of the Coe brothers to get to the quarters. Won a couple of events of a smaller but still reasonable size nature in the States, back-to-back at the start of the year. One of those was the Wisconsin Open. He beat Fedor Gorst, Eklund Kachi, and Lee Van Corteza for seeing off Badr Al-Awadi in the title match. So what's the thinking here, JJ?
Well, Shane doesn't like to give him back very often, and I like that mentality usually. If you're comfortable, you can cut off the left side of the one and run the cue ball to the top rail, side rail, come back down. Problem is, if you don't get the snooker, the one may open up. Now he's going to look at, I think, banking the one maybe straight back down and trying to go with a high ball into the 6 with the cue ball. It's not terrible. To be honest with you, though, Michael, I'm not in love with a whole lot here. Really hard to edge the ball and run the cue ball accurately when it's out in the middle of the table. You know, if that ball's down by the head string a little more, the one, a little easier to be confident running the cue ball.
Let's just have a look in on table 2. Eklund Kachi won that epic 15th rack against Johan Chua to get to the hill, and it doesn't look to have taken him long to see it out from there. So Chua, who's played so well this week, is out, beaten by Kachi by 9 racks to 7. Chua, who got to the quarterfinals here last year. Kachi has been runner-up in the past.
Yeah, that's the shot that I saw initially. And again, the one was going to come out a little bit open. Very good line on the cue ball there from Shane. So keeping the pressure on the Greek champion.
Just to wrap up that Kachi situation, he will now play Duong Quoc Hoang of Vietnam, who ended the hopes of Shane Wolford earlier today. And the end of that match means Chang Young Lin and Skylar Woodward can finally get things underway on table 2 in the one remaining match yet to start in this round.
Yeah, very difficult. Now, if he's not totally snookered, he'll try to bank the 1, back down towards the 7-2 rails, and come to the right side. Just take his chances here. All about the 1 ball more than the cue ball. Pretty solid hit. He's going to hope it doesn't get through that gap, and it looks like it may. Still pretty good effort. You're just trying to contain your opponent right there. You know, as long as your opponent doesn't clear the table or end the game on this next inning, you've kind of done your job if you're Kazakis. Now Shane sizing up a 1-9. And I'll tell you, he can run the cue ball safe, but I don't like this shot too much. You know, this shot's okay when everything you hit it perfect, but whenever you don't make the 9, where's the 1 going? Where's the cue ball going? Okay, he was all out about the safety the entire way. He wasn't playing the 9 at all. Now, of course, that next match, huge Skylar Woodward fan, obviously, but I'm a big Chang fan as well. He's one of the, you know, guys I do like to watch a lot of. And during pandemic, he kind of started to play Chinese 8-ball a little more, not being able to travel. Actually kind of changed his stroke a little bit according to the Chinese 8-ball. But good to see him back here in the U.S. Open. He's had a couple close runs, of course. I'm not sure. Is he playing like a safety here? Maybe a 3-ball combo on the 9? Okay. Shane has battled for that first shot, and he's gotten it. Interested to see how he plays this. The 1 goes in the corner by the 6. Kind of drops him on the short side position of the 2. Little awkward here. A little awkward cueing. It's a little off angle on the 2, but not a ton of angle. You know, you kind of want one way or the other here. You want to be straight or you want a little more angle to easily move the cue ball. Good thing for Shane is the 4 is not too bad. So get in position on the 3. You don't need a ton. And he'll take that.
Talk today about Mosconi Cup places. I should say Shane Van Boening is the only nailed-on member of the American team. Clinched his place some time ago. Balls potted, all level up. Van Boening tries to level up in the match by winning this rack and the next. And one thing that will definitely happen in the Mosconi this year, or well, almost definitely, is that Shane Van Boening will become the first player ever to play 100 Mosconi Cup matches. He's on 96 at the moment, so I'm guessing probably somewhere on maybe day 2 that landmark will be reached.
Yeah, well, he's grinding hard here. Every ball, trying to overcome a big deficit. Of course, everyone in the building, including the two at the table, know that we have a match now, that's for sure. Don't expect a mistake here in rack number 9, and it should be 5-4 soon. Probably, definitely doesn't want straight here on the 6. A hair of an angle would be perfect, just like that. Wow, I don't think he was trying to come across the table at all. Doesn't really make sense to come across the table. It doesn't get you on the 8 better. It certainly wasn't as natural from the 6 to the 7 doing so. So I think a little fortunate to cross to the left side and get that clean shot on the 7. I think he could have ended up on top of it.
That's the old principle. If you're going to misjudge it, make sure you misjudge it by a lot, because then you'll have the same shot on the other side of the table.
You don't think he's into this match. He's sweating every shot, and I'm not sure that got there.
Yeah, we could see the anxiety.
Yeah, I think he's a hair short. I mean, of course, the camera never does us any favors. We're a little ways away from the table, but maybe he can spin it.
Oh, this shows us if it is on, it's very, very tight.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if he has to soft spin it, the cue ball's going to end up on the top rail for a tough shot on the 9. Okay, he could kind of pinch it.
So a couple of break and runs back to back. Different story in this one, but it looks as though he's going to win it as well. And that'll be 4 on the bounce. It's anyone's match now. Kazakis still has the lead, but Van Boening has all the momentum. And now he trails by just a single rack at 5-4. Now, news of 3 players who have just moved to the hill. Oscar Dominguez, 8-6 up on Radislav Babica. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz has an 8-4 lead over Ralph Suke. And Wu Kunlin on the brink of a big win over Roberto Gomez. It's 8-3 there. Otherwise, some close contests going on in this round. Obviously the one we're watching on table 1, but also John Morra, who now leads Victor Zielinski 7-6, and Thomas Kaplan, who's 7-5 up on the Welshman Marcel Price. Jumping ahead to the next round, the last 32, Roland Garcia, 3-1 lead over Wojciech Szewczyk. It's also 3-1 for Janiuski against Abdullah Al-Yusuf. Is this going to be the week? Janiuski has a really deep run in a big event like this. And Mustafa Alnar of Turkey has a 2-0 lead over Mario He, who was a semi-finalist at the recent European Open. This man was the runner-up there. He's got his eyes on the big prize here, and he's only 1 behind now in this last 64 match.
Wow, golden break there, and Shane's had a few this year, but none more important to this one to tie the match.
Well, his first break in this match was a dry one. This one is a golden break, and that's really going to be hard for Kazakis to take, isn't it? He worked so hard to build that 5-0 lead, and Boening has come back so strong, and now this is the moment when the deficit was wiped out entirely.
Yeah, just like the layouts, Shane wants them tough for both players. He wants the pressure to be at a premium as well. He feels like that's a big advantage for him, and we've certainly reached that point at 5-5. So we'll see. Of course, Kazakis has got to get an open look first, but we'll see how he responds if he comes up with something very difficult to start.
All turned on that dry break in the 6th rack. Since then, Van Boening has been absolutely dominant. Wu Kunlin is through. 9-3 winner over Roberto Gomez. Will probably play Francisco Sanchez Ruiz in the next round.
Yeah, and another solid tournament for Gomez. I think all he needs really is just to play more of these big events around the world. I think sometimes he still, a little nerves get the best of him sometimes, just like it does all of us. But man, what a talent. And now another good shot at the 2. Not as easy as some of the other ones, and certainly a difficult position play. He's kind of got to play this in the side and go to the side rail, take a long one on the 3. With the 4 a little covered up also. I doubt I'll see a safety here, or we'll see a safety here, Michael, even though this is not easy. Very brutal angle going into the side pocket, especially if you need a little speed on the cue ball. Now he's got some really nice safeties that he could play. I know he wants to attack. Was he looking at a 3-ball combo here on the 2-6-4? I think he was looking at that for just a moment. Now sometimes Shane will get very involved in like a 2-way shot that he likes, like maybe shooting the 2 off the edge of the 4, kind of holding the cue ball behind the 3, trying to make the 2 in the side. I think he's sizing something like that up, to be honest with you. I don't think he's trying to picture the 2 just straight in that left side pocket. So it's either the 2 off the 4 is what he's looking at, or the 3-ball combo. I think it's the 2 off the 4 with a little bit of a backdoor safety in mind. That was the 2 off the 6. Didn't quite get the cue ball over as much as he wanted, and there was no safety in mind there, Michael. He was going all out for that.
But what's he got now?
Yeah, he's got a super thin cut on the 3 in the side, and if he feels like he can get something on the cue ball, I think he should shoot it. Yeah, the problem is he can't go natural. The scratch in the upper right is a big issue. So he's got to get the cue ball to the side rail, to the top rail, and then enough power to get it to open up and come back down. He could easily just roll up on the 4. That's the prudent safety play right here. And I know he doesn't want to surrender to the table, just because what happened to Alex could easily happen to him. The problem here is you have to give it enough time to draw the ball to the side rail, or else you could scratch in the upper corner, but then you also need enough power to produce shape on the 4. So big dilemma. And he's doing everything he can to not have to play safe. Really wanting to keep his turn at the table. And I say it all the time. If they had to lay him out there, or they lay tough rack after rack, I still think he's the best in the world, in my opinion.
Been several racks already in this match, even though we're only at 5-all, that have felt like they're at a sort of 7-all or 8-all situation. This is another one.
And he wants to get close to this combo, even if he has to cut it a little bit. Accuracy's at a premium.
Just as he sizes this up, Jeremy, we're sitting here next to some of these youngsters playing in the SVB Junior Open. They've got their practice area here. Don't know if you can see him. There's a kid over there who only looks about 8, and he's wearing these specially adjusted shoes that enable him to reach the table. I actually saw him hitting a break-off shot on the practice tables yesterday, and he absolutely rifled through the balls. He can only be about 8 or 9.
Yeah, I met that kid in Vegas, and he's certainly going to be a champion. Really nice. Basically got a little kind of stilts attached to his shoes, but the good thing about that is it gets him to where not only he can reach, but it gets that backhand to where he's underneath and not out to the side like some of the youngsters when they start at such a young age. And would you ever believe it would be 6'5" SVB in this match some 45 minutes ago?
All sorts of things have happened. He's had a couple of break and runs. He had a golden break in the previous rack. That one there was such hard work. But Shane Van Boening now leads for the first time in the match at 6'5". And you know, JJ, we were talking about Kazakis winning 9 racks in a row against SVB in the World Masters final. That obviously was from 0-0. Van Boening could do it here from 5-0 down. All the momentum with him now.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that Kazakis can rest easy on, and of course you could label it a mistake, but it wasn't an open shot. It wasn't a silly mental error. It was just a dry break, which both players have had. Shane has just kind of taken over since.
Oscar Dominguez on the hill at 8-6 against Radislav Babica. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz on the hill at 8-4 against Ralph Souquet.
Okay, it looks like Alex wants to take a timeout.
That gives us a chance to look at some of the other scores. John Morris 7-6 in front over Victor Zielinski. Marcel Price, the Welshman, doing so well. 7-all now against Thomas Kaplan. Just half a dozen places left to be decided in the last 32, including Chang Young Lin against Skylar Woodward, but they're just getting started. Now, speaking of the last 32, Roland Garcia already making great progress towards getting through to the last 16 because he's 5-1 up on Wojciech Szewczyk, the man who beat Albin Ochin earlier today. Janiuski now 3-2 over Abdullah Al-Yusuf, and Mustafa Alnar has a 3-0 lead against Mario He.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Roland Garcia, I talked about it with Carlo Beato. Of course, that name speaks for itself. You know, reigning champion, world champion, but how consistent Carlo is, tournament, you know, after tournament, it seems. Same thing with Roland. If you watch him, he's just, you know, he's not quite as flamboyant as some of the other Filipino players, but goes about his business and gets a lot of that business done.
Speaking of Carlo Beato, he's going to be next up on this table against Noyuki Oi. That, of course, is a repeat of the semi-final from last year. And over on table 2, it's going to be Joshua Filler against Tyler Steyer. Steyer, of course, having beaten Fedor Gorst earlier today. I know you've got some big calls to make over the next week, Jeremy, and Steyer obviously has been on your radar anyway, having featured in the team 3 times in the past. But if he beats Gorst and Filler in the same day, then even if he doesn't get in automatically, he's really making a case for himself.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to say he's definitely in the mix, and he's, I think, heading in a great direction. I was saying it earlier in this year, I think he's made a little bit more improvement, both physically and mentally.
So here's what's happening on 2 at the moment. Chang Young Lin and Skylar Woodward. Of course, it was Chang Young Lin who played Shane Van Boening in the final of this championship back in 2016 in Virginia. SVB got his 5th title.
Yeah, I remember that one, Mike. Well, I actually made a little run myself at that event. Chang beat me in the final 4 of the winner's side, believe it or not. And then SVB knocked me out. Don't have a very good record against SVB.
Not many people do.
Well, I got a few wins, but I mean, it's not like, you know, we haven't played a ton. I beat him in Reno a few, you know, years back when he first hit the kind of professional scene, and a couple wins here and there, but probably about 3 or 4 and about 9, I think, something like that.
Well, that's pretty good.
Not out of 9, 3 and 4 and 9.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
Okay,
well, that's
let's
still
get
not
that
bad
clear.
anyway. Let's be fair about it.
Yeah, a couple of them should have not even left the room. He just kind of beat me like I wasn't there. But
yeah.
Here's Chang with the opening rack there. Huge match.
I think it was Sean Ockey, wasn't it, who beat Van Boening 3 times in 2021 in various events. we're still waiting for play to resume on table 1. Shane Van Boening from 5-0 down now leads Alexander Kazakis 6-5. I'm guessing this is why Kazakis has gone out, just to recompose himself.
Yeah, you know, it used to be the rule you had to wait till it was your turn, right? That's changed a little bit. It's just between racks, and which is fine. Between racks, I mean, you know, your timeout's there for different reasons, and one of them is definitely to try and maybe settle yourself, plus kind of slow down a little bit of momentum, a little gamesmanship. Nothing wrong with that.
And news of a couple more winners, one of which is really going to please you, Jeremy. Oscar Dominguez, as we've said, is leading the race at the moment for those 2 automatic spots on the Mosconi team, which will be filled this week to join Shane Van Boening. He's beaten Radoslav Babika 9-6. Now that's a good result any day of the week, and it takes him through to play Si Chia Chen for a place in the last 16. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz has also won. He's ended the hopes of Ralph Suke, the champion of 20 years ago. FSR wins 9-4 and will play Wu Kunlin in the next round. So only 4 places left up for grabs in the last 32. One of them, at the moment, looks to be heading Shane Van Boning's way. What can Kazakis do about it?
Yeah, I'm very happy with Oscar's win, especially because the start of the match wasn't ideal. He hung tough against a very, very strong and experienced player in Babika, and hats off to him as well. Kind of said that, I believe it was at the European Open. I think all the young Polish players that are coming up has kind of, you know, kind of sparked him into a lot of professional pool again.
Yeah, 3 Poles in the quarterfinals there, more than any other country. 6 in the last 32, and in fact there have been 9 in the last 64.
Yeah, this lay's pretty perfect, you know, just to come behind the 3, putting the 1 below the 9. It's not a devastating snooker unless the cue ball comes up on the back of the 3 and kind of welds to that red 3 ball, but otherwise it lays really natural. I'm wondering, is he considering a 2-way shot here? Nah, you can't consider it the 2-way. It's not really a position shot. So just the safety behind the 3. I don't know. Oh, nice. Super nice. And he's cut off a little bit of the 1 ball with the 2 there. Should be a 2-rail escape, though, right before that left side pocket to the bottom rail and up underneath the 1.
Boning has really got that air about him at the moment of not on my watch. Are you going to get a chance to get back into this?
Well, you know, that's a big piece of why he has 5 of these titles and so many more around the world is, you know, you wouldn't say other players would give up, but maybe say it wasn't my day without maybe, you know, a definition of a give up, where he doesn't. You know, he pulls these matches out. We saw it earlier this year a couple times in the World Pool Championships, and we're maybe seeing it again here at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, and most notably, that incredible match against Mika Immonen, 10-3 down, looked to be heading for an early exit from Milton Keynes, turned it around to win 11-10. If you can turn that match around against a competitor like Mika, who's been around so long and won so much, and you've still got to have belief in any situation.
Yeah, and the ref needs to be on this one. I'm sure Marcel's close, or one of the head guys, because he could get close to the 2 and the 1 here.
Well, it's not a hard call to make in the end, is it? Because he's absolutely smacked into the 2.
Yeah, the 1 never moved, so Shane should draw up this right side rail, playing for the 2 in the side. That's what he's looking at. You can follow into position. That's actually what I prefer a lot of times. He's going to come 3 rails. But don't be afraid to play the 1 in the upper right corner and be able to follow, just because anytime you're going forward, your touch is usually at its best. Nothing wrong with this either. He's going to play a 3-rail position. 2 natural rails, just gaining the 3rd rail. Kind of important he gets on the 2 somewhat properly, though, to get on the 3. Yeah, like I said, I think if Albin Ocean has this ball in hand, he follows, shooting this one up in the upper right, hits right before the side with the cue ball and then up into position. This got to bounce just a little bit. Doesn't want to be too thin. And I could have used a little more out of that. He's a little thin, a little bit closer to the rail than he wanted. The good thing is the 3 goes in both corners. So if he just wants to level out and roll this in and come across at the 5, nothing wrong with that. Well, Shane has had 2 dry breaks in this match, and Kazakis is going to really be pulling for a third here soon. It's going to be 7-5 before you know it. And you know, before I bet on a dry break, I'd almost wager that Kazakis doesn't come back to the table. It's just my feeling, anyways.
Well, that's the key thing, isn't it? Dry break, no control over what happens. At least if you get something off the break, but don't have anything to go at, you can play the next shot, keep the heat on Kazakis.
Yeah, and of course that dry break from Kazakis really got Shane going. But a couple times Shane has kind of battled and kind of won the tactical side of this, some situations with Alex.
Well, that's the thing with this run, which now looks set to extend to 7 racks. There have been all sorts of different ways of winning them.
Now he's just going to size up. Should come off the 8 to the right side rail. You know, the top rail, right side rail for the 9 in the lower left. He could draw back, I guess. I don't really see much reason to do that. He may draw back a couple inches, but yeah, not a whole lot.
So the winning line is starting to appear on the horizon. We saw Lee Van Corteza win 7 racks in a row on this table earlier today. To see off Jason Shaw, Shane Van Boening has done the same here, and he now leads 7-5. Over on table 2, it's still 1-0 to Chang Young Lin against Skylar Woodward. And Thomas Kaplan has become the 3rd Polish player through to the last 32. He's finally shaken off the dogged Welshman Marcel Price by 9 racks to 7. Victor Zielinski may yet be the 4th, but he's going to have to win the last 2 racks against John Morra to do it. He's trailing at the moment 8-7. Of those 3 Poles who are already through to the last 32, one of them is really going to have to turn it round to make any further progress. Wojciech Szewczyk is 6-2 down against Roland Garcia. Janiuski leads Abdullah Al-Yusuf 3-2, and it's also 3-2 now in favour of Mustafa Alnar against Mario He. All the other matches in the last 32 are either yet to start or are still in the first rack. 7-5 to the world champ. Okay, so we've said Kazakis needs a favour to get him back into this. This is the moment.
Yeah, he made 2 on the break, 3 on the break, including the white ball, and now Kazakis with a pretty routine out. I mean, he's got to work the cue ball from the 5 to the 6, but ball in hand should get prime position on that 5 and make things pretty easy. Of course, probably the ultimate sin in 9-ball pool, a scratch on the break. It's the worst feeling.
That's the thing, isn't it? Something like that can always happen, even if it feels the other guy has got all the momentum and you're just going to be sitting down till it's time to shake hands. Something like that can always happen. And as much as anything, Jeremy, you've got to be sitting in your chair, preparing yourself mentally to deliver if the chance does come your way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a while since he got to shoot offensively. That being Alex, he did have a kick shot that he gave up ball in hand on just a couple games ago, but at least he can, again, know that it wasn't a big miss that really allowed Shane back in this match. So Alex has played super solid. Just got to keep that confidence brewing. And did he get an angle here? Okay, he got enough. Not a whole lot of an angle. Still think he's okay to draw up the right side of the table. It may not have gotten near as much angle as he wants, but still should be okay. He's in good shape here. He's a little thinner than maybe the television will tell us, but maybe he has to add a hair left English going forward with the cue ball. Not a lot, just to make sure he doesn't end up on top of the 7. Kind of spread the cue ball open a bit with that side spin. Got a lot more arc on the cue ball there than he really wanted. Shouldn't be an issue. Just got to really put a little more into the cue ball, playing from the 8 to the 9. I haven't seen Sky Woodward at the table on table 2 yet. I know it's early, but been a lot of Chang over there shooting so far.
Yeah, he's 2-0 now in favor of Chang. Okay, so Kazakis has thrown a bone with the scratch on the break. We're heading for one heck of a finish here. Kazakis back to just 1 behind now. It's 7-6. Let's have a look at table 2, the match you were talking about. Skylar Woodward's 2-time Mosconi Cup MVP, still battling to confirm his place on this year's team. A win here would be a massive help, but he's 2-0 down against Chang Yun-Lin. John Mora on the hill at 8-7, as we've said, against Victor Zielinski. They're still playing the next rack there. And then in the next round, Levan Corteza, after his win over Jason Shaw, has won the first rack against Ko Ping Yi. Roland Garcia now 6-3 ahead of Wojciech Szewczyk. Ko Ping Chung has won the first against Niels Fyan. Abdullah Al Yusuf has turned it round to make it 3-all now against Yanni Uski. And Mustafa Alnar leads Mario He by 4 racks to 2. The big drama's here though. Kazakis just 1 behind now.
Yeah, and he's going to really shake his head here with another dry break. Oh, the 8-ball, 8-ball. Oh.
You could see he looked reluctant to leave the table. It was almost like he couldn't quite believe it'd come up dry there.
Yeah, Shane can't pocket the one cleanly. Does have a long rail bank. It's a little funny. Just has to kind of hold it, kind of twist the ball a little bit. It'd be hard for him not to shoot at that. Now he's climbed his way back into this match with some fine runouts, but it's been a lot of tactical battles as well. So I thing is, there's not a great, I mean, like really like secure safety that you're in love with, that you're going to say, yeah, I'm burying him every time here. You know, if he's trying to float behind the 7, could easily sell out. That's what he's going to look at. Yeah, he's got to cut the 1 just a hair to move the cue ball over by the 7 or behind the 7. Doesn't really put the 1 in the best places going down table. Could end up between the 3-9 and give up a shot. He played the bank, which I thought he would anyways. Try and, you know, make Kazakis come with it if he does miss, and I think Shane got fortunate here. One thing for Kazakis is I think all he can do is cross this ball over, kind of bank the 1 between the 3-9 and just kill the cue ball 1 rail on the bottom rail. He may leave a little bit of a look, but if he tries to do more than that, I think he could get away from him. And it doesn't lay bad at all to bank the 1 between the 3-9. And let the cue ball go to the side rail with a little left English. Let it just kind of die down here to the middle of the end rail. I think if you get involved trying to get tricky with this safety, and I don't think offense is really available, I think you could really surrender an easy shot to Shane, and now's not the time to give up an easy one. He's queuing up like he's attacking. Oh, wow, what a shot. Great shot.
What guts, what courage, what composure.
Yeah, not only to pull the trigger there, but how clean did he hit it? Center cut.
He said he loves defying people's expectations in his career. I don't think many were expecting him to do that. What a chance now to level it up.
Yeah, really no worries, hardly at all. Open 3-4, maybe a 5-8 combo here in a minute. Probably would like to stay away from the combination as long as, you know, he's okay on the 5. That 8 leads easily towards the 9 later in the rack.
We didn't know whether Kazakis would be given a route back into this match. We did know that if he was, he would give absolutely everything to make it count. And that's exactly what he's been doing since that scratch on the break Van Boening had at the beginning of the previous rack. He's the one in control at the moment.
Yeah, and I think I stay away from the combination. Not saying it's not super easy, obviously, but like I said, it leads. The 8 leads towards the 9 a little easier later in the rack. You know, say you fall a little funny getting from the 6 to the 7, you get kind of straight, right? Well, that doesn't really matter as long as the 8's hanging in the side. So You never know on a combo. It's not supposed to get away from you in this spot, but you just never know.
I think the way he played that, he's thinking the same way as you. Yep.
I think just a little more foolproof. Even though foolproof is far a thing that's far away from these two or any of these top pros. Just can't expect some kind of silly miss.
Seems a long time since he raced into that 5-0 lead. It's become a very different contest now, but it's one in which he is hanging on so bravely. And he's level again. Start from here with a race to 2 because it's 7-all. 1 by 1 for both USA and Europe. Players have been eliminated today from contention to claim an automatic place on the Mosconi Cup teams. And Victor Zielinski is the latest to go because he's been beaten 9-7 by John Morra of Canada, who will now play either Chang Yong-lin or Skylar Woodward. Chang leading 2-1 there at the moment. That's the only match still going in the last 64 now, apart obviously from the one we're watching on table 1. Zielinski came here this week at number 7 in the European standings. Needed to get into the top 3. It isn't going to happen for him now. In the next round, Chris Melling and Badr Alawadi level at 1-all. Lee Van Corteza now 2-0 ahead of Kopenier. Wojciech Szewczyk has closed to 6-4 down against Roland Garcia. Abdullah Al Yusuf has really turned it round against Yanni Uski. He's now leading 4-3. And Mustafa Alnar is ahead by the same score against Mario He. 7-all on table 1 at the US Open.
Watch out, cue ball. It needs a friendly kiss.
And watch the 1 as well. Well, neither of them has dropped.
He's made a ball on the break, though. So, and I think the 1 is okay. He made the 7. I think the 1 is definitely playable.
The reason I was saying watch the 1 would have been if it had dropped. What would he have had on the 2? Not sure that passes.
Yeah.
The 8 and the 9 and the 5.
Yeah, good call there, Michael. But now he's really perfect naturally off the right side of the 1. 2 rails right at the 2. Yeah, Kazakis should get to the hill first here. Of course, we take for granted that these guys just always get out. But still, you know, it's not easy. He's got to do the work. Now he'll just draw this back about 2 or 3 inches to be able to come 1 rail across for from the 3 to the 4. Definitely wants to draw it back some though. Wants to carry a little natural angle on the 3. And I tell you, we've seen some really highly, you know, quality matches played that were one-sided, right? We've seen a few of those this week, but maybe this is the best quality match on a close one coming down to the end where that's what I was about to say. Oh my goodness, it's one big miss that seems to get at Kazakis.
Well, Jason Shaw came away from his match earlier today furious over a kick he had at a big moment. Alex Kazakis will be kicking himself if he now goes on to lose this match. And can you believe it? It's come from him. A man who just pours so much focus into every single ball, makes the most of every opportunity that's given to him. And then he goes and misses one like that.
Yeah, I was getting at how high quality from both players. I was just going to follow it up with as long as Kazakis can maintain, because it's not like once he gets in that mode that it's a tough shot that gets him. It's usually, you know, and that's actually a lot of players, but it's usually somewhat of an easy shot that gets the best of Kazakis at times.
Joe Davis, the 15 times world snooker champion, who basically invented that game as we know it today, used to say it's the easy ones that are difficult. We saw it proved there again.
Yeah, they're difficult, but also they have a ton of value, meaning, you know, those are the ones, 3 or 4 shots a game for these guys are pretty easy, but you can see how disciplined they stay with them. They treat them just like the tough shots.
So much on the line for Kazakis. Chance to get through to the last 32 of the US Open, which hasn't been his greatest event over the years, and if he had got there by knocking out the world champion, 5-time US Open winner, it's just the sort of springboard from which you can go on to win an event like this. Turn that could have gotten back into the Mosconi Cup team.
Well, it's definitely not over. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we had more drama in this match, but, you know, if Shane was to go on and make the 9 on the break or get a very routine kind of out in the last game, you kind of, it just wouldn't surprise you, right? After that big miss on the 2-ball from Kazakis.
Not hard to identify the big turning points in this match. Kazakis' dry break in the 6th rack when he was 5-0 up. That was what started the turnaround to 7-5. Then the scratch on the break from Van Boening. Start of rack 13. That was what started Kazakis' revival, which looked as though it might take him all the way to the hill until the next massive turning point. That incredible miss on the 2.
Yeah, and it's been pure class from Kazakis. You know, the 1-ball he buried at 7-6. You know, that's a shot would be looked back on if he went on to win this match, but quickly forgotten if SVB pulls this off, this comeback. So sports is an amazing thing, and pool is no different.
There have been so many big moments in this match. There may yet be another one. Kazakis needs it to swing it back in his favour, because somehow Van Boening is first to the hill at 8-7. Well, we thought the last match on this table between Gorst and Steyer might be the most enthralling contest we'd see today. Seems a long time ago now, because this has turned into a real epic. The one other match still going in this round, Chang Yonglin 3-1 up on Skylar Woodward. In the next round, Chris Melling leads Badr Al-Awadi 2-1. It's 1-1 between Max Lechner and Jonas Suto Camino. Also 1-1 between Ko Ping Chung and Niels Fayen. Si Chia Chen and Oscar Dominguez level at 1-1. And Sanyan Pelovanovic has won the first 2 racks against Konrad Yasuchin. All the other matches as you were when we last updated. So here we are, Van Boening breaking on the hill.
Well, the 1's down, the 2's going to spin to the end rail. I'm not sure how offensive this he can go out, but got some options. And you said a name there right before that break that I would watch out for is Pelovanovic. He lost a brutal match on the winner's side, Hill I believe it was. And then he went on to really get in stroke. He started off the next match, I feared, a little drowned from that loss at Hill, but picked it up midway. Played really nicely to qualify. Had a big convincing win over Aloysius Yap not long ago. And he's a big talent, Michael. And, you know, that silver medal at the World Games is kind of like one of those stepping stones for a kid like that that can do wonders.
If he wins that match, he may play the defending champion Carlo Biado next. Ooh, now where's this going?
Well, it's going to leave a jump shot. Maybe a swerve shot at the 2. We'll see. He kind of wanted the 2 to hit the 8, maybe. I don't know. Probably not, you know. He didn't want to threaten scratching, right? So he's going into the 4 at all times. The problem for Alex is, if he has to jump this ball, well, he's going to have a little heat on it, and I don't know if he can hold the cue ball for a shot on the 3. He may have to kind of swerve this ball to really have a chance. Yeah, I was going to say, I think he's just sizing up that swerve shot at the moment. But the way the balls lay, whoever gets that first real shot at the 2 should either end this match for Shane or take us to Hill if it's Alex. Yeah, I like the swerve shot. Hard to hang it. That's the good thing about the swerve. It's hard for it to hang at that speed. It probably get away from the pocket or go in. If it lays over the side, that'd be a little unlucky. He's okay. So a treacherous little situation here, Michael.
The margins on which these players' careers, their aspirations, their livelihoods hang are just so minute. You look at that 2 ball there, that rolls one more rotation and it could be match over.
Yeah, and I'm wondering what he's going to do with it here. This is super touchy. You know, you don't want to just push it past the 7, leave some type of jump or rail first shot. You know, you could get a little froggy here, going rail first off the 2, chipping what is his left side of the 2 and roaming the cue ball across the table for a snooker behind maybe the 5 and 9. You may leave a jump there as well. So like I said, nothing easy at all. Now what he's going to look at is cutting the 2 past the 7 and just trying to let the cue ball just come off the rail and then stay on top of the 5-9. I'm not in love with that at all. That type of shot is just not one you ever practice. It's a very hard shot when the nerves are high. Easy to let up on it. He's not pulling the trigger, I don't think. Yeah. Okay, 2 things could happen here. Of course, it could be successful, but the 2 could not go near far enough, or the cue ball could overrun coming across the table. We'll see. Yeah, that's the one I would have feared, is the cue ball. And you got to say, that's a pretty darn good shot under the circumstances.
Chang Yong Lin is now 4-1 up against Skylar Woodward over on table 2.
And I think Shane has left a little piece of the 2. I'm not so sure it's makeable, but he can certainly just edge it and run the cue ball back up. Now Skylar's gotten back on the board, and that's the type of match Skylar needs. He knows he's got to play really pure against Chang to have any chance.
That ripple of applause may well have been to mark the end of that 6th rack there. Woodward back to 4-2 behind. Mario He, incidentally, in the last 32, has just gone 5-4 up on Mustafa Alnar.
He's playing the kick here. This could get away from him. This isn't the easiest kick because he has to avoid the 6 with the 2 ball. So, I was going to say, he may not get a rail either with the 7 there, but nice effort.
Precision of so much of the tactical play in this match has been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, from both guys, really playing a lot of different types of shots. Now, the problem with kicking this direction is he knows he's kicking to a very open table. He'd much rather be able to kick where the 2's going towards the pink or the green, but now it's going to come up towards the 8, most likely anyways, and hard to get much cover when there isn't much cover there. Could fluke it, though. Could fluke something. No. We're staring Hill right in the face.
I don't know if it's possible for Alex Kazakis to find another level of focus. He has every reason to, knowing he passed up a glorious chance in the previous rack with that miss on the 2. And really be aware how important it is to avoid anything similar here.
Well, with that kick shot, Shane did him a little favor, moving the 3 a little closer to the pocket. Nerves are high. That definitely makes the out a little easier. Really very minimal cue ball movement really needed here. This is the shot. Now, this isn't the type of shot you want to draw out of there. But with top inside, the only thing you really have to worry about is a little hook on the ball. And maybe that 6, the green 6, that would be the worry. If he catches the 6, maybe he kisses up, gets behind the 5-9. I don't know if he has enough angle to get easily underneath the 6-2 rails. It's close. Well, he's hitting downward on this, so he's trying to stun out above, I think, maybe? I don't know. This could go wrong. Oh, good effort there. And what he was saying to himself there is, if I do catch a little ball here and there, I'm going to have enough steam on the cue ball to get clear.
Every shot at the moment feels like the winning 9-ball. It would be such a huge moment for him to win this match, to beat Shane van Boening at such an early stage of the US Open. And as I said, potentially give himself the springboard to finally become the winner of one of these absolute top-level big field events. We're going all the way. Jeremy, I've got to ask you this. 32 matches in this round. 30 have so far been completed. Do you know how many of them have been hill-hill?
0, I'm guessing.
0. This is our first. Kazakis with a satisfied smile on his face there, and he knows this match has been looking to slip away from him a couple of times. He would love to be able to forget about that missed 2-ball in the previous rack forever, which he will be able to do if he can take this deciding rack. And of course he'll have the break. Quickly, let's look at the other matches. Chang Young Lin, as we said, 4-2 up on Skylar Woodward. And in the last 32, it's Chris Melling leading Badr Alawadi 4-1. Lee Van Corteza, what a day he's having. Thrashed Jason Shaw earlier. He's 4-0 up against Ko Pin Yi. Wojciech Szewczyk and Roland Garcia, that's 6-all now. Janiuski 5-4 ahead of Abdullah Al Yusuf. And Si Cha Chen has a 3-1 lead over Oscar Dominguez. They are some of the big stories elsewhere. The biggest story of all is happening right here.
Oh, look at there. Oh, my. Now, he's going to have a go at this one way or another, considering this isn't the worst thing in the world. I mean, you can't be too upset about this right here. He could be dead snookered with no shot at all. He's got a very doable kick shot with the 2 hanging. The 3's very near over the opposite pocket. This could be a lot worse for Alex. He needs to keep that focus because he's still a huge favorite in my opinion. The long rail kick is not hard at all. I mean, I think if Shane had the opportunity, he would love to shoot this long rail kick right here. Now, it's one thing if the 3's away somewhere, you know, pinned away and you can't get position, but I don't even know if I would jump this. I think the jump has more of an issue of a problem than the kick shot. I really do. The kick shot, if you make it, the cue ball's not going to get away from you. Jump shot, you're going over a ball that's very close. So when that happens, any miss hit on the cue ball, you curve the cue ball and you could have serious problems. I would just go to the top rail myself. Now, he won't do it with the short cue, obviously. He's just kind of measuring things up. And Sky Woodward has put another beat on his side, 4-3 and at the table. I can't believe he's not going for the kick. Don't get me wrong, I'm not so good with the jump cue, so there is a little difference there, but this is a kick shot you learn as a professional early in your years, right? So
what a big decision to make. Whatever way he goes with it could prove to be the final determining factor.
yeah, the only way to not come away with the shot this way is if he happened to catch the 2 off the second rail very thin and the cue ball kind of ran, but I think he's going to hit it at a speed to where it'll still be fine. Be very surprised if this ball isn't made and he doesn't get all the way out. Always a little drama hill though, Michael.
We love it. You don't want to see a break and run, a golden break in this sort of scenario. This is how you want it to be, especially in a match with so much on the line. So much history between the players involved.
Now, the point he was aiming at, I still think is okay. But he was aiming a little more to play for that natural bend of the ball that we talk about a lot. Now, the only thing is if you play for that a little more, you don't use that second rail. There is one other misfortunate, or unfortunate, excuse me, thing that could happen. And that's following the 2 in after pocketing the ball. Very hard to do from that angle, but it is a possibility.
This is one of the great things about not having a shot clock. The tension just gets ratcheted up with every passing second.
Yeah. Again, just a top English roll. Should be arc a little bit to the long rail.
Oh, wow!
Well, and a little unfortunate not to get an angle and the cue ball end up on the rail here.
He'll take it though, won't he?
Absolutely.
Just to have the chance to play the next shot here.
Absolutely. A little unlucky the 4 doesn't pass the 8.
And there wasn't much contact there. I think it went rail first and then caught it on the way back.
Yeah, that's how he ended up on the rail, or else he would have had the cue ball a little cleaner where he could hit a little draw stroke. Now what? Does he jack up and try and stun this ball?
Well, if he doesn't get that little flick on the 2, that's probably the end of that, isn't it? But he battles on.
I don't think he can get the position he's trying to get with top English. Watch out for that left side. He's not shooting yet, is he? It's going to be a bank shot. He was trying to make the ball actually arc into position. He's got to go for the bank, though. I mean, it's sitting perfect. He's already buried one to open this match. Is he going to bury one to close it?
This is what they came to Atlantic City to watch. Great players producing top-level drama. Nothing's coming easy, but he's still at the table.
Yeah, and here's where Alex needs to not take too much time. I mean, this is right in front of him. I mean, this is your first round match against, you know, where you're a big favorite. You just get down and pocket the ball, and that's all it is here. The 5 and the 6, 7, 8, and 9, pretty easy. So just one rail down past the 8 a little bit. That way he can go naturally off the 8 to the top rail and then swing into position somewhat straight in on the 9. I wouldn't get involved with anything but one rail here with the cue ball.
Kazakis pots these next 2 balls. Shane Van Boening will go into his 40s, still looking for that record-breaking 6th US Open. And for a long time it looked as though to Gibraltar 2019 we might be adding Atlantic City 2022, as it seemed Alex Kazakis might lose a big, high-profile race to 9 from 5-0 up for a second time.
Well, something he didn't feel too great about. Better to start over, especially you have that opportunity. No shot clock yet, right? So you see the guys so often on the 9 ball take their extension, you know, when there is a shot clock involved. So nothing wrong with that. He's earned that right.
Alex Kazakis lost 7 racks in a row to trail 7-5. He leveled at 7-all. He missed a simple 2-ball to let Van Boening get to the hill, but Kazakis, as ever, has poured every last drop into it and has prevailed. 9-8. He will play Thomas Kaplan in the last 32. The world champion is out.
Yeah, you got to give it to Alex there, though. He started off very well. He ended very well. And a real high-quality match from both players, really very similar. The break and run's a little different with Shane making that comeback, right? But very good stats from both players, and I wouldn't be surprised now Kazakis kind of gets that